Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash a like and make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. We're racing towards the 6K mark now, just over 100 to go, guys. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and let's get there as quickly as possible. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing Romeo Lavia, Chelsea's latest new recruit to the expensive midfield rebuild alongside Moises Caicedo, who's arrived for a British record, and obviously Enzo Fernandez for a then British record back in January. It is quite some midfield revamp. But to get the lowdown on Lavia and a bit more of a detailed insight, a person that's watched Lavia quite a lot over the last year. I'm delighted to be joined by Southampton fan Mike from Matchday Vlogs. Mate, thank you for coming. Obviously, probably wishes in better circumstances for yourself, but you obviously got a good player from off of Southampton. First of all, I guess from a Southampton perspective, you were all expecting his departure this summer. It was kind of, was there an inevitability about it?
Yeah, definitely. I think when we came towards the end of the season, in fact, that loss against Fulham, which sealed our relegation, we kind of knew he was going to be on the list to move on the way out. And Romeo Lavia has been talked about all season. Despite being out injured for a large part of it, he was basically in discussions of many a club. So it's kind of fun to see how the last few weeks have gone. I do have to say, seeing how Liverpool jumping in and sort of not saying he's not worth 50. And then us sort of getting near 60, it's a little bit of a sweet taste left in our mouth after that one. So but yeah, then we'll see.
Yeah, I think from a Chelsea perspective, I think, look, yes, we probably have slightly overpaid, but like with a lot of these transfers, you're not just paying for how good the player is now, you're also paying for the potential and how good he could be in a few years' time. What we've already seen of Lavia, 19 years of age, there's a lot of room to develop, and he's very, very highly regarded within the game. Another person that probably is known from his time at Southampton, Joe Shields, obviously key in Lavia coming to Stamford Bridge, has obviously been part of him at Manchester City. They both went to Southampton together. Joe
Yeah.
Shields now at Chelsea. He was instrumental in that decision as well. From a Southampton perspective, and you've watched a lot more of him than I have, just how good is this guy? I know he was only there for a season. He was injured for a part of that season as well, so he's not really played a full season. But just how good is he from what you've seen of him?
He's fantastic. I mean, I think you're in for a real treat in midfield, in just in terms of like how he can control the game from the middle of the park. Basically everything can stem off him. If he's given space to play in that sort of central defensive midfield role, he can really sort of, pick out those kind of cutting edge passes, progressing the ball forward. But he's just so composed as well. When you look at him play, he doesn't look like a 19-year-old kid. He looks like someone that's been in the game for literally 10, 15 years, ways. He's just not he's not in awe of anyone that he's playing against. He's just basically there, and he does a fantastic job. So physically wise, he's very, very good as well. He can sort of shrug off kind of like challenges and just wrestle the ball back. He looks very much a complete player for the age of 19. And I think, a lot of people will say, yeah, 50 million, 60 million is a lot of money for a player at that stage in their career. But it's a bit like going back to when Arsenal bought Ben White. That large sum of money was all about what it's going to be. And he's definitely one for the future, but he's ready now.
Yeah, no, I think he is as well. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in at Chelsea, given, there's obviously a lot of competition for spaces, particularly in that midfield. Obviously, just signed Moises Caicedo, got Enzo Fernandez. Pochettino likes to go traditionally with a 4-2-3-1. You would imagine that Enzo and Moises Caicedo are going to be that first choice midfield pivot. Obviously, this season we've got no European football. There'll be slightly less rotation, but as we get back into Europe, which we should do this season, there's going to be a lot of games coming. Lavia should get a decent chunk of minutes. With Nkunku's injury as well and the Elise deal falling through, there's kind of a trail of thought at Chelsea that potentially until Nkunku comes back, we could actually end up deploying a 4-3-3, in which case Lavia could sit at the base in that number 6 with Enzo and Moises Caicedo ahead of him. How do you see him fitting into that Chelsea midfield? Because I don't think he's going to be a regular starter, certainly not straight away.
I think that's a bit of a baffling thing for me, and it also sort of paints a picture of how annoyed he must have been at Liverpool for their actions, because I kind of, as much fun as it was to see Liverpool miss out on Romeo Lavia, I was kind of thinking like, do you know what? He'd probably get more time if he went to Liverpool.
Oh, but he would have started a lot more for sure.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit of a, perhaps a negative on the side of it. Not for the sake of who he was going to, but just for the fact of he clearly wants to get, first team football and play on a regular basis. And I perhaps think he would have had more opportunity to do that at Liverpool. But, steel sharpens steel. And, if you can really sort of cut his cloth in that lineup of midfield, Moises Caicedo and all the other talent you've got there, then really it could be good for his progression, and also shows his ambition as well, because then he also thinks like, yeah, I reckon I can get ahead of these guys. So let's see it happen. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of spoilt for choice. So it'd be quicker to talk about the players that Chelsea haven't bought than what they have
Yeah,
bought. So
yeah. There's a lot in there. I mean, what do you think his best position is? Because I saw him twice last season at St Mary's and
mhm.
at Chelsea, and he was great in both those games. We scored a great goal at St Mary's, and he beat us. He did double over us last season actually, and
Yeah.
I thought he absolutely dominated that midfield at Stamford Bridge. I thought it was absolutely superb.
Mhm.
On that afternoon, what do you think his best position is? Is it just that out and out number 6, or can you see him playing in a pivot? Can he also play in a 4-3-3? Do you think he's quite a versatile midfield player in that sense, or is it very much kind of a defensive destroyer as such?
I would go with the latter. I
Yeah,
think the times that I saw him play where he perhaps didn't make such an impact was when he was sort of crowded in midfield, and sort of playing alongside someone else. So I think given space to play, he shines a lot more, and also can sort of take on a lot more. So I would say as an individual unit, out and out number 6, that's his best role. But he's still very young. Who knows what he can do in the future of his career.
yeah. I think that look, I'm excited by him for sure. We've got a lot of talented young players. We've got Andre Santos at the club as well. He's only about 6 months younger than Lavia. There's certainly some really, really good options in there.
Mhm.
In terms of the manager, obviously Mauricio Pochettino, again, a manager that you'll know better than myself
Mhm.
in terms of how long he's from his time at Southampton. A lot of the young players that have joined Chelsea have cited him as a big influence. A lot of the youngsters have said in interviews and stuff about how he's not just a manager, but he's also a friend as well. In that sense, he's got very good man management skills, great record of developing youngsters from his time at Tottenham, Southampton, etc. Just how big a factor do you think the Pochettino pull is? And do you think for Lavia at this stage of his career, like Poch is maybe the perfect manager to help develop him to that next stage and reach his potential?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, I've got massive respect for Pochettino. I mean, what he did for Southampton Football Club in his time there was fantastic, and he basically took on a side from Nigel Atkins, and it was a really interesting time because a lot of the fan base were behind Nigel Atkins and didn't understand the appointment of Pochettino. But what he was able to do with the youngsters, I mean, Adam Lallana, even James Ward-Prowse in there as well, and the likes, and just develop their game. It's kind of an ideal appointment for Chelsea, I think, in terms of the youth that they've got. So there's got to be a massive factor for Lavia going there to see a coach like that and see a bit more stability in the club in terms of their managerial position. So yeah, I think Poch will do a great job with Lavia, as he has done with many young players in the league, really.
Yeah, no, look, to be honest with the Poch thing, I was a little bit unsure at the start, but like, when we were going through the managerial process, I was
Right.
thinking he wasn't really high up my list of thinking. But as the candidates whittled down and it sort of appeared obvious it was going to be him, I did warm to it a bit more. And actually, everything he's done since he's come in, I've just loved it. And of course,
Hmm.
there's going to be bumps in the road, and we're going to go through poor spells of form, and there's going to be things that he gets wrong, of course. But I really like what he's doing, and I'm sure you'll know as well. Like last season, we were so unfit; we just looked out of games after about 30 minutes. Tell
Hmm.
you what, now that we look so fit, and you see, I'm sure you've seen all the stats where, like at Southampton, they went straight to the top of the distance covered charts. Same at Spurs. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised that Chelsea, if like you see us sort of going from one of the teams that covers the least amount of ground in games to covering probably the most amount of ground. So I really like what I'm doing from it. Just to round out, mate, how good do you think Lavia can be? Because again, we see young players with a lot of potential, but not they don't always go on and fulfill the potential that they've got. But do you think Lavia can go on and become maybe world class, go on and become one of the best midfielders in the Premier League if he fulfills his potential that he's got?
Mm. Yeah, well, definitely. But just to touch back on Poch's ethos, just a little story for you because he's quoted at Southampton as to say that a lot of the players didn't like how hard they were being worked. So Ricky Lambert actually was singled out. Go and have a word with the gaffer. Go and have a word. And basically said, Gaffer, we've been pushed hard after the games and been doing so many laps. And so he's just okay, no, I take it on board, and he ended up giving them double afterwards. So he's that kind of a guy that really sort of doesn't take no crap in that regards. But yeah, how big can Lavia be? Yeah, the world is at his feet, and really for you know when you watch a player play and you're just thinking like you're just seeing the surface. You're literally just seeing the surface. And you know, I take it back to times when I watched Virgil van Dijk at St Mary's, and you just knew that he would eventually be world class and regarded as the greatest defender ever. Has Lavia got that in his locker? We'll have to wait and see. You know, we saw him for you know, the start of last season. He was obviously out injured for a bit up until the World Cup break, and then came back towards the end. But from the little part that we saw, you just knew. And even those kind of like highlight reels of him doing his thing against Man United, albeit against 10 men inevitably, but it was world class what he was able to do, and it's no surprise that there were multiple clubs in for him. So I think you and the rest of the Chelsea fan base can be very excited for what's to come with him. So,
Mate, I'm excited. I'm sold. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'll be at West Ham on Sunday. Hopefully, maybe he'll make his debut there. He's registered in time. I don't think he'll start, but I'm sure he may well feature from the bench. But yeah, lots to look forward to for Chelsea fans. Hopefully, over the next 7 years, the length of contract he's signed. Hopefully, he's here for that 7 years. You never know how
yeah,
long these guys are going to stick around for. But
you might
Mike,
have
thank you for
Lavia versus Prowse on Sunday, mightn't you?
yeah, we could do actually. Yeah, we absolutely could do. Yeah, battle of the two Southampton midfield maestros of last season. But mate, thank you so much for your time. If the people want to check out more of your stuff and what you do, where is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, find us on YouTube, Matchday Vlogs. Find us on TikTok as well, Matchday Vlogs. But everything's just simply Matchday Vlogs. We've taken the name and literally made a channel out of it. So you can certainly find us there as we're following our side in the championship campaign, which is proving pretty entertaining so far. So and certainly with our aspirations towards the end of the season, we're hoping to be doing these things. Perhaps we can do an actual match preview this time
Yeah.
next year.
Mate,
Who knows? Who
let's
knows?
hope so, mate. Let's hope so, mate. Guys, make sure you check all that stuff out. It'll be linked in the description and the channel will be in the title. So you can just click on that and make sure you subscribe. But yeah, Mike, thanks for your time, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll catch you again in another video soon, guys. Up the Chelsea and peace out, people.